Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 22 of And Action. I'm Tommy DiNucci, as always, with Mikey Messier. This week, we got a really fun episode. It's all about relationships, people. And this week, we're going to be talking about keeping in touch during those long, long gaps between projects. We come onto a movie, we make fast friends. It's like summer camp, everybody's buddy, and then a few weeks, a few months, even a few years can go by, and those really terrific friendships that we forged can kind of just fade away. And damn it, that ain't right. So today, Mike and I are going to dive into some strategies that we've used in the past to stay in touch with people between shows. But to be honest with you, this is a big glaring weak spot of mine. This is something that I could use a little help with. So on this week's episode, I'm hoping that the And Action uh, fan base, population, community that we've built up can maybe share some tips with me and help me get a little bit better at dropping a line every now and then. But before we get into that, Mike, how the hell are you?
I'm good, bro. I'm good. Good to be here. And a very interesting topic. It's kind of timely for me because I'm scheduled to go out to Texas to be part of a film festival and then to work on a separate project, a film by my friend Jamie Reborn in Dallas, who actually brought me into his film in 2019. And we've kept in touch. But you're right. It's there's always room for improvement with keeping in touch with people. So I think this session and this broadcast, which we hope everybody copies and pastes the URL, will be informative and entertaining and educational, and we'll get some good results here.
Yes, that is 100% the facts. I just want to check in with everyone. We've got some of our And Action faithful here. We've got Kim Kalen. What's up, Kim? We've got Ariana, who's joining in. This is our first time having Ariana live with us, but she has checked out the show. We actually got a chance to work with Ariana a couple weeks ago on a music video we did. We got Anna back in the building, virtually, of
Nice to have
course.
her
What's
back.
up? What's up,
She was
Anna?
here last week.
Good to see you again, 2 weeks in a row. All right, and of course, Kim was in that music video as well. And we get the whole gang here. I'm sure we'll have our buddy Stephen E. Chiming in soon. So it's great to see all you. I just wanted to talk a little bit about last week. Mike, what was your feedback on episode 21? Last week we were talking all about, the art of pre-production. As Stephen E. checks in. What's up, Stephen? And of course, Mike Braga just checks in. I'm bad at keeping up with friends in general. Well, Mike, I'm not so great at it either, brother. Maybe we can all learn a little something today. Um, so basically, last week we were talking about pre-production, which is kind of unique because I'm about to
Right.
start up a movie soon. So it was great to kind of just that was actually a helpful show for me to just almost like refresh myself on like, oh, these are the things that I got to be doing in the next 4 to 6 weeks. So I thought it was a great show, and it kind of got me ready for the battle that I'm about to take on.
Yeah, people were very positive in the response to the pre-production episode. I think some of the things you talked about, your special action figure display, storyboarding was a popular side topic that came up, and I think people were pretty positive about it. And I think Miss Pacheco there is the daughter of our friend Rosemary Pacheco, a filmmaker. So it's
No,
always
no, it's different Pacheco.
oh,
Different
different
Pacheco,
one.
brother.
Okay,
Believe it or
well,
not, there are more than one Pachecos in the state.
very
Um,
good.
so basically, let's just kind of jump right into it, guys. We've
Sure.
all been there before. We've been on these movie sets, and it's amazing that when you're on a set, you're usually paired up with people that have a lot of commonalities, a lot of similar interests, a lot of people that normally probably would just be friends. Like if you did some kind of computer survey and everybody checked certain boxes of interests and things they liked. Okay, this group of people probably should be buddies anyway. So then you combine that with the fact that you're working 12 to 14 hours a day, and it's, a great sense of there can be a great sense of team and camaraderie that comes with making a film. It's like being a part of any other group. And obviously, you're eating meals together, you're drinking your coffees together, you're smoking your cigarettes together. I don't condone that, of course, but that's what people do. So you become like really friendly a lot of times at the end of the night, not that it's like a big party thing, but You go out to dinner, you get some, grab a drink or get some food with these people after every night, after you rap or whatever. You become very close very quickly. Um, and it's not a thing to text that person or reach out to that person or bust them up or make them laugh or whatever. Be serious with them. But then, like I said, like a month or 2 can go by, and it's funny, your relationship kind of withers away a little bit. And it's nobody's fault. Like, nobody means to do it, right? Like, I want that to be important. Like, this is an important part of this show today. We're not talking shit about people for like slipping away. That's like just a normal human practice. We all let people fade away. We don't mean to do it. Life catches up with us. We only have so much processing power in our brains, and we're on to the next task, we're on to the next project, we're hanging out with a new set of people that are going to help us obtain our goal. So again, like when we get into this today, it's not like we're not trying to point fingers at anybody, because we all do this. This is something that happens to us all. We lose touch with people.
Well, Tommy, I can tell you that I was a young actor and I listened to the audiobook Still Me by Christopher Reeve, who was the Superman actor who got in that very unfortunate horseback riding accident that paralyzed him for the rest of his life. And in his autobiography, he basically says that a Broadway play production, the cast, the crew becomes like a family, and you work very hard. You do 5, 6, 7 days of rehearsal a week for so many weeks. You do the show for as long as the show runs. And then at the end of the run, everybody, you might have one final cast party, but then everybody's off to their own separate thing, their next project. And he said it was kind of hard for him to deal with that because it's like a family that comes together, but with a finite amount of time, that family will be together because eventually they'll break apart. I think that kind of reminds me of what you were just talking about. Same thing applies for film, maybe even more so. In your case, you've worked with a lot of the people in different projects, but there's not going to be a spot for every single person in every single project. So people have to be understanding of that as well.
Yeah, it's funny. It's almost like in the war movies. You watch an old war movie, and maybe the veteran who's been there a little longer than the younger recruits or whatever, he doesn't get too close to anyone, because he's seen what can happen. In
Right.
the war movies, there's always that one character who doesn't want to get too close to anyone because they know that that guy's head could explode in the next scene or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there is a little bit of that. I've actually been on movie sets where you can tell some of the veterans, like, they're not going to get as buddy buddy because they might know that, like, yeah, we're going to be friends for the next few weeks, and then you're probably never going to call me again. But let's face it, guys, you never know when you're going to need to call upon a friend for a favor or some advice, or even just to say hello. Maybe you're feeling lonely. Well, guess what? The longer you wait, the more awkward it can be, and the more difficult it is to kind of crack that code of social engagement. So look, the one benefit that we have, some ways to avoid that, and some ways that I've kind of studied and figured out, and as I've tried to get better at this, because remember, like I said, I used to be horrible at this. Like, I would literally like leave a movie, be best buddies with everyone, and then just people would fade away. I wouldn't call them back, I wouldn't contact them. Social media has made this a little easier, so I think we can start right with that. I think social media is like probably the most non-invasive way to maintain friendships with people. And it's that little kind of, again, it sounds so funny, and people have made fun of me in the past for it, but like just as simple as liking someone's post, whether it's about what they ate that day or what movie that they're going to see that weekend, or just a picture of their fucking cat. Just by liking that person's post, as simple as it sounds, it's a little tap. It's a little like, yeah, man, I'm with you. Like I'm still here, kind of. As silly as
Oh,
that sounds. And it doesn't cost you a fucking thing, man. Like it's fucking free. So, that's one thing right off the bat, If you just did a project with some people, and now you're on the old social medias, you're poking around, that's kind of your green light to engage those people a little bit. When they post their dog pic, give it a like. When they say something funny, maybe shoot a ha emoji at them. It's an easy
smart.
way to that's kind of what we call like low hanging fruit of contact.
Yeah. low impact friendship tactics on social media. I'll give credit to our buddy once again, David Gear. He was a big liker of a lot of my posts, 8, 9 years ago on Facebook. And that kind of provoked me to reach out to David when I saw some of his things, specifically about pro wrestling, because I didn't know that he was involved in pro wrestling until he started liking a bunch of my posts. So I went over to his page and checked out his life and his alter ego as a wrestling manager. So he's very good about stuff like that. And there are people that I've noticed. We'll give credit to our friend Sandy Fogel. She's always giving thumbs up to everybody and writing nice comments. And I appreciate that, and it doesn't go unnoticed. Let's put it that way when
Yeah,
people
shout
make
out to actor Tom Glenn. He's another gentleman who's I've worked with on many projects. And there's a guy who, we'll talk a little bit about Tom more on one of these shows, but there's a guy that I literally just was working on a movie, bumped into him in the hallway. Both of our names happened to be Tom. And we're like, oh, your name's Tom? My name's Tom. Oh, that's funny. And then through the virtue of Facebook, you like my post. I like your post. You like MMA. I like MMA too. Boom, boom. Now we have a friendship going. I mean, this works out in all relationships, I mean, this is nothing new. We're not inventing anything here. If you give a little bit, you'll get a little bit. So shoot out some of them likes, get some of them likes back. So if you're on a project and you just made friends with people, this is something that's very important. And it sounds, again, I can't help but sound like a fucking 15-year-old kid in June on the last day of school asking everyone to sign my yearbook and write Kit. Remember they would write Kit? Does
keep
anyone
in
remember
touch.
that? Am I dating myself? Do the
I
young
think we
people
talked
still
about it
do
last
that?
week. I think we
Yeah,
talked about keep
yeah,
in
they
touch
write
this week.
they write Kit, and that means
Yeah,
keep in touch.
yeah,
Um, I guess it could also, mean like something else. We should make up a really vulgar acronym for KIT as well. What it
right.
could potentially mean. Well, anyone and action listeners, if you want to make a vulgar acronym for keep in touch KIT that is not keep in touch, it would amuse me. You can feel free to drop it in the comments as I move on. But basically, I feel like a little kid when I say this, but at the end of every show, don't be ashamed to go up to all your friends that you made on the project or even acquaintances that you might be just mildly buddies with. Don't be afraid to you know, get their social media pages, get their handle and become friends with them. Like make sure that happens because I've been on shows before where I forget and then this sounds funny, but even like a couple weeks go by and it's like, oh man, what was that? What was that guy's name again? Or what was that? What was their handle? And it's just like that little moment is lost. Kicking in toddlers. That made me laugh. So far, that's our number one. I don't know if anyone's going to be able to top kicking in toddlers for keep in
I
touch.
thought kissing might be a good word for the K. Yeah, I went to a film event last night here in Jacksonville, Tommy, just a social gathering, and a guy was there who I'd never met before, and he just asked, "Hey, what do you do? What do you do?" And I was in the process of handing him a business card, but he millennialed me. He said, "No, no, don't even bother. What's your Instagram handle?" And he pulled out his phone and he followed me on Instagram on the spot, which I thought was pretty impressive because he's actually doing himself a favor. He doesn't have to spend the mental energy to try to remember my name 3 or 4 hours later.
Yeah,
Just
there's
do it on
no
the spot.
question. The business card has kind of been. I think business cards are. There's nothing wrong with having a business card. You ain't a fucking dinosaur by having one. But there's no question that I've been in that similar situation where it's like, oh, business card, just put your shit in my phone right now.
Right.
Ariana checks in with kangaroos and togas, which is a wonderful visual. If you want to just take a
I'm kind
moment
of
to
going with
think of
that
them
one.
all.
I like that
My
best.
one question, like, here's my one question with a kangaroo and a toga. Is there a little flap right here on the toga for where their pouch is? There would have to be, I would imagine, right? How else are you gonna Yeah, it's a special toga. Um,
Yeah.
okay, so moving on, social media is low-hanging fruit. It's easy. Phone calls. That's the big one. Everyone's afraid of phone calls these days. Phone calls definitely intimidate the shit out of people. And it's not just a millennial thing. It's not just like a Gen Z thing. Like I know full ass grown people that are afraid to get on the fucking phone with someone. Okay?
Right.
Um and that's something that I think we all need to work on a little bit. Because as dated as it seems, as archaic as it sounds, to dial someone's number up and use your fucking voice to talk to them, it's still to me the number one. I mean, like if I really want to call a friend up and, we all do this, right? We all got those best buddies that like all right, well Stephen E just mentioned FaceTime. And FaceTime goes with this. When I say phone call, like we can definitely include FaceTime in that. Because what's nice about that, and this is why I'm glad Stephen E brought up FaceTiming, I have some friends that I can literally just look at their faces and they make me smile. As
Sure.
corny and stupid and goofy as that sound, like Mike's like that. Like I could kind of just smile when I look at Mike. Look at him.
Thanks, buddy.
Uh, so it's one of those things where like
Me and
hearing
SC
someone,
Jones both. Me and
yeah, like
Special Boy.
he's holding up a 35-year-old wrestling action figure. What's not to love? Um,
Uh-huh.
and but basically what I'm saying is there's nothing like just hearing your friend's voice, and that can really, like, add some deep connective tissue rather than just a text or a like or a message or a meme or a GIF, and we're gonna get into all that shit, but, like, don't be afraid to just, like, FaceTime or call someone and just use that phone, but use it wisely. I mean, here's the thing, I'll be honest with you, I have some people in my life, I'm not gonna name any names, and don't worry, Mike, this isn't my way of saying you're one of them,
I
but I
wasn't taking it that way, but thank
yeah,
you.
you might have a little bit. There are people that I call time hand grenades,
Sure.
meaning when I see their fucking name come up on my phone, I'm like, "Ugh, a hand grenade of time is going to
Right.
explode, causing all of my time to shatter and fade away." And I know that if I get on the phone with this person, it's gonna be 30 minutes, 40 minutes, it's gonna be a one-sided call, it's gonna be all about their bullshit, they're not gonna give a fuck what I have to say, and frankly, I'll ignore that call a lot of times. I'll get to that one later. Don't be that guy. See, I'm not talking about that when I say phone calls. Don't expect to be the plant your feet in the sand and we're going to have an hour-long conversation.
Right.
Learn how to, as they say in the wrestling business, get your shit in quick. Just
Go
get
home
your shit
early.
in. Go home early. Call them up. Say, "Hey, how you doing? Just wanted to hear your voice. Just wanted to see what's going on. I got this project going on. What are you working on? Hey, that's great. Talk to you fucking later." And that's it. And if you can get known as the guy or girl or person who just, hey, you know what? Every time so and so calls me, we have a quick little back and forth. They make me laugh. We share a yuck or two. I hear what's going on, and then they're on their way. So if you're going to go the phone call route, don't don't abuse it. Just use it as a nice little, "Hey, remember my voice? You like me. We have chemistry. We're buddies." Or like Steven said with the FaceTime. "See my face? Remember? You like this face. We're friends." And Steven has some advice here.
Oh
And
boy.
don't FaceTime in the bathroom. Good God. I was in the library and this blonde girl, about 25 years old, was in the wrong bathroom. I accidentally walked in on her FaceTime on the phone. So not only was she in the wrong bathroom, but she also decided to broadcast that to her pal via FaceTime. Yeah, no FaceTiming in the bathroom. And
I agree with Stephen E. Some of the most uncomfortable moments I've had has been in a public men's room when some other gentleman is in there on their phone while participating in men's room activities, which I think is a little too intimate for all involved.
I agree. I mean, this is a different topic for a different show and it may be a different day, but yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, unless it's an extreme emergency, like maybe don't be on the phone at all when you're in the bathroom.
No, it's a no phone zone in my
Just
book.
saying. Just saying. Because guess what? We can all tell. We can hear that fucking echo. Even if you think you're being sly and we can't tell, I can hear that echo. I know you're in the toilet.
You can hear the flushings in the background. Tommy, I
Yeah.
was going to say that there are people that, and this is not necessarily about film world people, but there have been friendships I've had that have been strained because the person tends to use their friends on the phone as unpaid therapists. And there's a female in my life that was a pretty strong friend for quite some time, but every time she would call me, I'd get a cringe because I would, as you said, I would see like, okay, I'm going to be on this phone for about an hour to 2 hours, and I'm
Oof.
not even joking. And she's in other countries. She's calling me when it's convenient for her, at 11 o'clock at night in her foreign country, but I'm over here in the States. It's the middle of the afternoon. I'm trying to get things done. And I have this uncomfortable feeling like if I don't put 2 hours into this phone call, she's going to be depressed or mad or feeling neglected. And at the end of the day, Tommy, that friendship kind of was severed or severed because I just realized this is not productive or helpful. What this
Yeah,
person needs is a therapist.
yeah,
And I think
exactly.
some people really do need to get, and there's nothing wrong with going to therapy. I think some people have a stigma against it, so they use their friends as unpaid therapists. And I think that's not good for either film friends
No,
or any type of friend.
no, it's never good. And again, we just don't. Something like what Mike just described puts you in the time hand grenade category, as Kim so accurately described here. Time hand grenades. That's what that shit is right there. So don't be that person. Nobody wants to. Nobody wants to look at their phone and fucking cringe when they see the name. Listen, that's the reality of it. You just don't want to be in that situation. So let's move on to texts. Okay, texts are very casual, right? Everybody does it. We all shoot them out there. Um, but here's something that I want to say about the whole text message in general, because I feel like we all know what a fucking text message is. I ain't gonna get on here and talk to you for fucking 10 minutes about what a text is and how you should author a text. If you don't know that, maybe you shouldn't even leave your house today. But what I will talk to you about today is the opposite of that, because I do this a lot, and on this show, I like to get all my shit out. I like to
Sure.
use this show maybe as my therapy in a sense, even though Mike just said not to do that. But this isn't a phone call, so it's
This
okay.
is
Here's
this
what I
is
want to stress. All right, I'm going to paint a scenario for you guys. Ready? You haven't talked to someone in a while. You guys were the fast friends, best buds on set. Everything is great. And you think they're one of your pals. And I use this term a lot. You usually find me after a couple drinks at a rap party being like, yeah, you know what? We'd probably be friends outside of school if it weren't for all this. We're yeah, I say that a lot. Like, that old school phrase, like, you and I get along. If it weren't for this movie, we might just find ourselves hanging out at a bar having a drink anyway, because we have a lot in common. So you have one of those friends and you shoot them a text message like a month after production, and you say, hey, what's up? Just wanted to check in. Hope all's good. Whatever. I don't care what it says. It's just a simple check in text. And then, ooh, an hour goes by and you don't get a response. Ooh, couple hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. They don't reply. Ooh, now we're like second guessing our whole relationship with this person. We're like, oh, all that time that we invested as buddies on set, that we were pals. We used to smoke cigarettes by the loading dock every day. Now I don't even get a text back. Well, here's what I want to stress to everyone, and it's very important. Try not to hit the fucking panic button if a person doesn't get back to you right away. Even if they take a day or 2 days to get back to you. We have such a kind of stigma now that text messages need to come right the fuck back. Like when I text you back, you better drop what the fuck you're doing and get right back to me within 10, 15, 20 minutes. Otherwise, I'm going to think this person's personally insulting me. Uh, and that happens sometimes. You'll text a buddy that you haven't talked to in a while, and they don't get back to you right away. And you get nervous, and now you're like, ooh, I shouldn't have done that. We're not that close. I should have, whatever. Don't get inside your head about it. You got to understand, you're not on that person's regular daily path, right?
right.
We all only have so much time to get so much in a 24-hour stretch, but you're not in that stretch right now. That person's moved on from you in that stretch. Now that doesn't mean that they can't welcome you back in. That doesn't mean they won't get back to you. But just don't get too in your head if you don't, you do muster up the courage to reach out to someone that you haven't talked to in a while, and then oof, oh, it's kind of like a fart in church. They don't even text you back. And now it's like, oh man, that's disappointing. Don't get disappointed. They've got their own shit going on, and they're just taking a little time to get you back on their radar.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Tommy. I think a lot of people personalize things far too much. Actors, especially, can get in their own head and beat themselves up or second guess themselves, and that's not productive. And you find that you're spending more time worrying about the text than the time you put into writing it.
Exactly, and then what you wanted to be just a casual little thing is now fucking with you. Now is the cannons have turned on you. You've
Yeah.
turned the cannons on you. I think Anna has a very, very
Yeah,
intelligent
good point.
comment here. Never text when drunk. That probably never fill in the blank when drunk probably goes for a lot of things. You could probably put a lot of things in there. Texting is definitely at the top of that list because we all can say things that are a little foolish. We've all done it before. We've all been at a party or whatever, and next morning we're like, ah, fuck, did I really say that to that person? Yeah, you did.
I
You did.
liked Anna's emoji game there, Tommy. She had a nice series of emojis.
Yeah, that is a very nice I like the first one, they're like, "Brr," they're feeling it. The first emoji's feeling it. Yes, we
Right.
never wanna be texting while driving as well. Every time I see someone text while driving, it's literally like it'd be like driving around with a revolver like this and just kinda like
Right.
loading the gun. Like, you can literally kill yourself.
Feeling
Um,
lucky.
okay, that's the end of our PSA portion of And Action. Okay, moving on. All right, guys. So strategies, emails. Ready? I'm not going to get into this too deep because again, it's like if you don't know what a fucking email is, I'm sorry, guys, but an email is a great non-invasive way, low expectations, and the best part about an email, it's a great way to share a quick link to a project that you're working on. It's a great way to say, "Hey, here's an article about a movie that I worked on that's coming out. Check it out." An email is probably the number one check it out, quick little stay in touch kind of a thing. It's also a great way to, again, unlike the text where Stephen E just kind of chimed in, some folks have a degree some folks have a degree in texting. Crazy speed demons. You're right, they do. And the email is the exact fucking opposite. That's why I love the emails. Now, listen, just as a business tip, you should probably get back to your emails as quickly as you can. Don't be sitting on them. But the nice thing about an email is, I think we can all agree that if an email comes in, nobody in their right mind is expecting you to respond right away. The
Right.
email is kind of like the get to this when you can. Maybe you check them in the morning, maybe you check them in the evening. Waving, it's like raising your hand in class, and the teacher says, "Oh, yeah, we'll get to you in a minute. Okay, we see you. We see you. We'll get to you." Mike, what are your thoughts on emails? While I let my cat in, if you'll excuse me, I
Yeah,
have to
go
let
ahead.
Donnie in. Take the floor, brother. Donnie's coming in.
Emails, I think, are a good source of communication or a good tool for communication. For one thing, you can spend a little more length of your message as opposed to a text, for instance. The other thing is if you happen to have photography or a video link that you want to share in your message, an email is going to work better. I have a lot of people that send me, and it's okay, but they send me texts with like a full movie or something, and like a link to a full movie or a short film or an interview, and I would so much rather have that in an email because when I'm on my laptop or a desktop computer and I can see these things with a bigger image, I'm going to enjoy it. If it's a link in my text to a movie, I'm going to be watching on my 5.5-inch phone, and I'm not going to get the full appreciation of it. And to the point that I'm probably not going to click on that link. It's just going to frustrate me that they sent it to me via text. I would prefer certain things via email. Like you said, take your time with those type of things. That's what I would prefer.
You're forcing the person to view on the phone. And granted, we could all take the extra step to just like you could just copy and paste and email it to yourself. But now that person's asking you to take an extra step to watch their shit. And I
Right.
know it sounds crazy, but guys, human beings are like the laziest creatures on the planet. And if you ask someone to do something as simple as all you had to do was copy it and email it to yourself and watch it on your home computer, that might be enough to get them to just not do it, as crazy as that sounds. Stephen E checks in with Facebook groups are a good way. Absolutely. Facebook groups are a great way to meet kind of strangers, if you know what I mean. And by strangers, I just mean like get in touch with people that you wouldn't normally come in contact with. So we talked a little bit about the different forms. let's talk about when to reach out. Like let's talk about like when to go for it. Um, all right, so obviously everybody's got a birthday, right? I keep a little birthday list, believe it or not, of important people that I've worked with, actors, other filmmakers, crew people, and even of course financiers, people who've got the schkarol, as they say, uh, people that you want to stay in touch with. And hey, man, like whether you're a birthday person or not, I don't give a fuck. Nobody wants to be forgotten on their birthday, and no one's ever going to get mad at you for wishing them a happy birthday. Like, no one is ever going to say, that motherfucker
Yeah.
called me up and wished me happy birthday. Fuck that guy.
Cross the line.
It's never going to happen, guys.
Right.
So, a birthday list is a great thing to cultivate. And you might just check it once in a while and be like, "Oh, it's we're entering the month of October's coming up. Let's see. Let me pull it up. I got it right here on my notes. Who's born in October? Okay, Tuesday. I'm going to shoot so and so a message." And you know what, guys? It's almost like it renews your friendship vows for another few months
Well,
just by
I'll jump.
checking in.
Tommy, I'll jump on that one. Facebook's very good about birthday reminders, almost to a fault because you get so many. But LinkedIn also has Facebook reminders. I did something that people kind of enjoyed, Tommy. I think you've been spared this one, but I actually make for the last 3 years. I've made a happy birthday video to whoever is birthday it is, and when I see on my Facebook, uh, events when we go to birthdays and I see whose birthday it is, I copy and share my happy birthday video and I put it on their page if they allow me to post on their page. And people get a kick out of it because it's become like an annual tradition I've done for 3 years. And this is kind of for the people that are not in the inner circle that I'll actually send a present or a gift to, or I'll call them on the phone. But for the peripheral Facebook friends, my Mike Messier happy birthday video on subscribe to Mike Messier YouTube channel has become a crowd favorite of sorts.
That's an adorable way to show people that you're thinking of them on their special fucking day. Everyone's got that one day.
Right.
That's just their birthday. I think it's important to note that. The other thing that this is kind of in keeping with the birthday posts or the birthday reach out. Another no-brainer time to reach out to people. I call it the holiday reach out. Now, be careful. We want to be doing holidays that everybody celebrates for the most part. So some suggestions would be I like to reach out to people on Thanksgiving. I like to reach out to people on New Year's. I like to reach out to people on the 4th of July. That's about all you got to do. Really, you don't even need to do three. If you can do like New Year's and the 4th of July, I think those are the two best times to fucking check in. And let me tell you why. Thanksgiving's tough. Everyone's with their family. You're eating, you're watching football, you're sleeping on the fucking couch. You might just not see the text. You might just not want to deal with it. I know that sometimes when I'm in Thanksgiving mode with my family, we don't do like a big family Thanksgiving. I'm literally just with like my mom, my dad, my sister, my brother-in-law, and like maybe an uncle will stop by. It's very small. And on those days, I really just like I want to shut my phone off. I want to put out my obligatory turkey whatever Thanksgiving post, and then I want to be away from the phone and watching football and just chilling with the family because I don't get to do that a lot. So same thing with Christmas. A, not everybody celebrates Christmas, and B, it's one of those things where I think that's a family holiday. If you do celebrate it, you might just be trying to stuff 10 pounds of social media credit, or I'm sorry, 10 pounds of social credit into an 8-pound bag on Christmas. And guess what? A week later, it's New Year's. And here's why New
Right.
Year's is the fucking best. It's a week after Christmas, so you're still in that holiday range. Everyone's still feeling jovial, holly, and motherfucking jolly. And here's the best part about it. You can text someone. You got a 2-day span because you can text them on New Year's Eve, Happy New Year. You can text them on New Year's Day, Happy New Year. How about this? The great thing about a New Year's text, you can message someone on January 2nd, on January 3rd, and you could still say, hey, just wanted to wish you a Happy New Year. Hope things are going great, and not be on top of it. So remember, nice little holiday check in. It's great. People love it, and it's non-invasive. And like I said, no one's ever gonna get mad at you for wishing them a fucking happy new year. And just a real quick to finish off on 4th of July, I usually will chime in with a like, "Happy 4th, hope you're having a great summer," or "Hope your
There you
summer's
go.
going great." Then now our 4th of July message has now become a summer check-in. So, simple stuff, guys. I know this shit sounds fucking elementary, but you'd be surprised how many times we second guess ourselves and we're like, "Ooh, I don't know. Should I reach out?" Yeah, you should. It doesn't cost a fucking thing. And Mike, just so you know, Kim is a very big fan of your birthday videos.
Oh, that's very good. Thank you, Kim.
Um,
For January, Tommy, I'd even go so far as to say, even the 10th or the 15th, you can space out your January check-ins. I think people wouldn't be offended if it's January 10th or even the 12th or the whatever. And, hey, Happy New Year. I mean, it's still the first half of the first month of the year.
yeah, you have a nice kind of Happy New Year period to work with. You got a couple weeks for sure. So, we talked a little bit about uh, birthdays and holidays. How about another great excuse to reach out? Another reason to kind of check in? Because that's what this is all about, guys. That's why I'm mentioning this. This isn't just like I'm not just haphazardly saying like, oh, call someone on their birthday. It's like, no, these are ways to kind of show up on someone's radar, be a blip on their radar, right? Because the human mind can really only handle so many fucking relationships, right? There's only so many people that we can truly pay attention to as hard as we try. And these days we have so many different people thrown at us from 18 different social media platforms, life, a Zoom call, the bank, who you bump into at the market, just so many people in your life that you really do have to like almost make it a case if you want to be a good networker in this business to like go out of your way to like find time to be like, shit, have I talked to this person in a while? Because there's nothing worse, and I've done this before. There's nothing worse than when you want to call upon someone for either a favor or advice, and you say to yourself, ah, man, I haven't talked to that person in a long time. Like they might not give me the right time of day. I just don't know. And I'm talking like years. Like I feel like years go by and it's just not a good practice. It's so easy to just grease those wheels and stay in touch with people. And people like it. That's the fun part about going on this little merry-go-round of life. It's the people around us that kind of make it interesting. So don't be afraid to check in with them. I think we all get a little inside our head. And I think the pandemic, I know that the pandemic affected me a little bit. There's that like year and a half stretch where like we all got inside of our heads a little bit as to like who might or might not want to actually be our friend or talk to us. And this shows kind of a lot about like, nah, fuck that, man. Get out there. Don't be afraid to say hi. Like it's okay. We're not asking you to go out to dinner with us. We're just talking about a little check-in. Um, let's see. Ariana checks in with I keep a core list of 5 to 10 people I keep up with monthly, and every like 2 to 3 months I try to reach out to everyone. Yeah, and that's such a great practice right there because, couple 2, 3 months, that's the perfect amount of time where you're like not, pardon my French, up someone's ass, right? You're giving them their space in life, but you're checking in. You're saying, "Hey, I'm a friend." Steven says, "Correct, Tommy. It is what it's truly about, man. It's the people that we see every day that kind of get us excited to take our next step forward." All right, let's talk a little bit about. I just wanted to say this because I forgot to say this earlier, but it's in my notes. Slide in them DMs, man. Don't be afraid to slide in them DMs. If you see a friend of yours and they comment, like, I collect action figures and I love wrestling. So, like, if I see a buddy of mine that likes post something I like, reach out, say, "Hey, man, that's fucking cool," or drop some fire emojis. Slide in them DMs. Let them know that you are on their fucking proverbial team of life. Okay, so another simple thing, I've been doing this a lot lately, and the show has been helping me because we've been kind of reliving a lot of the past. Uh, Anniversaries of projects. That's another nice way to reach out to someone. And we talked about it's kind of funny, and I don't want to blow up his spot. But I recently got a text message from Sully Erna, the lead singer of Godsmack, who Sully Erna is an awesome dude. And someday we're definitely going to do a deep dive episode on Sully. But out of all of my contacts in the movie business, I would say Sully and I have been able to maintain the most true level of friendship where we're buddies. You know, we hang out. We've actually done things. If Godsmack is playing at Mohegan Sun, he'll get in contact with me. I'll have tickets waiting for me, and we'll get the whole backstage fun. And Mike's actually
I
been a
can,
part of
I
that.
can vouch. Yeah, I can vouch for that. Sully is a great guy, and I've seen you guys together. There is a true bond there, a compatriotism of friendship between you and Sully. He's a really great guy, and I've become a much bigger fan of his band through knowing you and seeing you guys work together.
Yeah, there's one cool story that I will tell about Sully Erna of Godsmack real quick. Great show at the Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. They put on an awesome show, and we're backstage. And if you've ever been backstage, it's this kind of a funny thing, you know. You get into the backstage area with your pass. Then there's like a green room where everybody who gets the backstage pass can hang out, and there's food and there's drinks and there's couches, and people listen to music and they chill, and it's really just a little mini after party. But then there's the band's actual dressing rooms where they kind of have their personal little private parties happening, if you will. So it was really cool. Mike, myself, and David Gear, shout out to David Gear, seems like he gets his weekly episodic shout out. We're hanging in
Mm.
the back of Sully's sort of like inner hangout room, his private dressing room. And he's kind of like, look, I don't want to talk shit about the guys. I'm sure they were nice guys, but they looked a little fired up and they were a little, maybe having a little too much fun that night. And they kind of like barged into Sully's room. And granted, they had the backstage passes and everything. So they had a right to be sort of back there. But I'll never
Couple of
forget.
random guys. Yeah,
Yeah, but they kind of like moseyed into Sully's private area. And
right.
Sully's a tough guy. He doesn't take shit from anyone. He just kind of gets up and he's like, oh, guys, you got to get out of here. This is family only. It's family only in here. And it was like literally Sully, his father, his girlfriend at the time. I think his daughter was back there, and it was me, Mike, and David. So it was really cool, man. Like, again, like I don't fanboy or name drop or too much, but that was a cool thing to be like in the inner sanctum back room and him to be like, no, you guys get the fuck out of here. This is family only in here. And it was like me and Mike and Gear, like, yeah, we're family. Sweet.
We have the photos to prove it too. We have the photos to prove this situation did occur.
We
Because
do.
again,
And the cool thing about this, the reason why I'm bringing this up, it's not a Tuesday morning ego drop on how much fun we had at the Godsmack concert. It's to show that Sully's the kind of guy who, as famous as he is, and the amazing things that he's achieved in life. Just the other day, I got a drop-in check-in message from him, and it's a picture of him with a fucking axe in his head from the movie Anders Manor, also known as The Manor, that we shot a few Octobers ago. And he sent me a picture. It's like him with the axe in his head, and I'm like thumbs up in the frame with him. And he's like, "Hey, bro, just wanted to check in," kind of a thing. Remember this shit? That was
well,
fucking
yeah,
7 years ago.
yeah, he was great on that. He played one of the Brett Baton, the leader of the Baton Boys that I was third member of, and Mike Bennett, the wrestler, was a part of. Tommy, just to give a little bit of a yin and yang to this conversation, I did have something that's been in my craw. I want to talk about it here because it's kind of a what not to do as opposed to what
But
to do.
sure, before you continue, could you just tell me, or like what part of the body is the craw
It's
located
the
on?
gullet.
Okay,
It's left of the gullet.
okay,
The
fair enough.
craw is left of the
Please,
gullet.
please continue.
So basically, sometimes you probably get this more than I do, but I've gotten this on your behalf, on Verdi Productions' behalf. People coming to me, and I'm not even in any position to answer these queries. But sometimes I get them just about myself and my own work. People will send me a link, and it might be to a film, a feature film. It might be to a pitch trailer. It might be to a crowdfunding campaign. They might send me a script. I guess you would call this unsolicited because they're not giving me the heads up or the, hey, Mike, can I send you this? They're just sending it to me cold.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, Tommy, they don't have a clear ask. And what I mean by that is there's no defined, hey, Mike, can you read this script? I'd love to know what you think the possibility of this being made for $100,000 is, or hey, Mike, is there any roles in this movie that if it were to be made, would you like to do? Or Mike, can you spell check this thing for me? Or do you want to? There's no ask. See, any of those things could be a possibility, but if you don't clearly define what the ask is, am I supposed to spend 2 hours reading your script or an hour and a half watching your movie or even 10 minutes watching your crowdfunding campaign video? If you're not giving me a finite, please do this. And also here's the other part of it, a little bit of mercenary, but what's in it for good old Mike? What's in it for Tommy? What's in it for whoever's receiving this message? What possibly could be in it for you? If you're just sending me stuff, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to ignore it. And if I care about you, I might say, hey, what is this? What are you looking at me for? What do you want from me?
Well, Mike, I think you just gave me an idea for a topic of another show down the road, which might be and action. What's in it for me?
Right.
And teaching the importance of there's nothing wrong with you said the word mercenary. Unfortunately, like we've got this like stigma where like if we want to get something for our services, if we want to get something in return for the hard work that we give, now suddenly we're a fucking mercenary. And it's like, well, no, we're given something. We got to get something back. It's a give and take in life. So that's a great point, Mike. And I think what we can kind of back that up to is earlier in the show, I was talking about how you don't want to be the person who every time you reach out, you're always asking for something. You're
Right.
the person who only reaches out when they need something. Nobody likes that person. I don't care if you're a filmmaker. I don't care if you're a farmer. I don't care if you're a fucking mechanic. Nobody wants a person who's just going to call them up and every time, oh, look who it is. I wonder what they want this time. But if you, and this is going to sound funny, people are going to think I'm a fucking manipulator by saying this. Maybe I am. But like, if you check in with 4 or 5, hey, how you doings? Maybe the fourth or fifth one could be an ask. Maybe then you do earn yourself a fucking favor. Just don't be the person who's always asking for some shit because nobody
Right.
wants to fucking give that person the right time of day. Let's see here. Stephen E says, drop the mic. Thank you, brother. And Ariana says, a random small compliment goes a long way. That is so
I want
true.
to get my fortune cookie today, Ariana. That's a good one. I like that. I like that expression.
That is
What was it? A small compliment goes a random. That's nice. That's
Yeah,
nice.
that is nice. That is very that is does share the wisdom of a fortune cookie. And it's true. Again, I think Ariana's point here could be coupled with our social media reach-ins and how you can stay on someone's radar. Just like, hey, cool pic, cool cat, love that house. That's an awesome car, great color, whatever. Like one little comment, and it's like, oh, we're buddies. And good call, Stephen E. That was my Jack voice. She says, I'm a human fortune cookie. Anna says, sometimes if you don't ask, you don't get. No, that is a fact, Anna. You're 100% right. We can't live our life pensively, just hoping that things are going to fall in our lap. And yeah, you should be utilizing your relationships as much as you can. I think we're just saying, don't be the person who seemingly doesn't care about what the other person has going on in life as well. It's kind of like, hey, what's going on with your projects? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, now here's what I need. It's kind of like how we can soften our approach to asking, I guess, over time. All right. We're getting to the bottom of the list here. There's only a couple of other little tips on how to stay in touch between shows here. Um, Here's one that, like, again, we're not talking big bucks here. We're not talking about breaking the bank, and I don't recommend you do this for everyone, but simple, inexpensive gifts. I know what you're thinking. Like, well, what do you mean? Well, like, if I had an actor that I wanted to work with on a show and I was trying to court them, I'm saying like Don Johnson or Chaz Palminteri or something like that. Maybe something I might do is find and I'm talking like, again, you might not do this for your buddy. This is for like a higher end performer or whatever that you want to stay in touch with. Maybe you find a really cool still photograph of that performer from the movie. Really kick-ass photo. Maybe you get yourself a very nice frame. You can go to Home Goods for 19.99, maybe even cheaper. Get yourself a very nice frame. reach out to that person, get their mailing address, because if you've worked with them and they're an actor, like a, even a Chaz Palminteri or a Don Johnson, like I could get their address, I could get their manager, I could get this to them. And you mail them a nice photograph framed from the movie with a little handwritten card that says, "Hey, Don, was thinking about you. We shot this 2 years ago today. Hope all is well, Tommy." Something like that would go so fucking far sometimes. And it's so simple. Like it would take you an hour to put something together like that, right? To just, you find a cool photo, you screen grab it, you print it out at CVS, you put it in a frame. We're talking all in with postage. Maybe we're talking $30. Okay, it's not a lot of money. But if you're trying to court someone to like maybe be in your next movie and you want to like get on their radar and maybe in that handwritten card with the photo you say, "Would love to jump on a call sometime soon," and catch up. That's going to get you a phone call and that's going to get you potentially to be working with that person again. It's going to get that actor to say, because you got to keep in mind too, guys, that's another thing, and I should talk about this. We get really close with these actors. They're like our best buddies. And, I'm a director. I make one movie a year, two if I'm lucky. If I'm having a great fucking year, I'm going to make two movies. But really, I'm lucky if I make one. So my relationship with my lead actors, we're tight, man. We're going to be very tight. We're thick as thieves. To me, we're best buds. To them, they're going to go make 10 other fucking movies this year and work with 10 other fucking directors and have that relationship with 10 other motherfuckers. So, like, my connection to them is different than their connection to me. I need them a lot more than they need me. So that's why, like, you got to go that extra mile sometimes and send that framed photo with the handwritten card and get their attention so that they say, "Oh, yeah, Tommy DeNucci, we made that movie in Providence a few years ago. Yeah, he was okay. I'd work with him again." And sometimes it's that fucking simple. Like, that's all it takes.
Or they might even speak highly of you to their for instance, you worked with Don Johnson, you directed him in Vault. Wouldn't it be great if he put a kind word about you to his lovely daughter, Dakota Johnson, who's a big Hollywood movie star, to someday work with her. So
You just
these,
you never know.
I was going to say, Tommy, you have some really interesting topics here. Uh, One thing that I would just say is that there is no finite right or wrong for this stuff, but a lot of the suggestions you're making, I think people should consider as they move forward.
Yeah, there's a lot of options here. We're trying to give you a lot of options on ways to reach out because let's face it, man, and we've all done it before. Raise your virtual hand if you've crawled into a deep, dark digital hole and just not really reached out to anyone for a long time and kind of got into your own shit. We all do it, and it can be a slightly depressing, slightly dark place. And then we play tricks on ourselves and we say, "Oh, that person probably doesn't want to hear from me." And that's bullshit, and that's in your head. So they do want to hear from you. You just got to try and reach on out to them. So we're rounding the end here. So basically, we talked a little bit about the handwritten. Actually, back on the props. This is something that a lot of people don't think of, and I've done this before. A lot of times when you finish a movie, you will have a lot of cool things like a prop. Maybe it's a prop walkie-talkie or I don't want to say a gun because that gets a bad stigma these days, but maybe it's like an article of clothing or a cool shirt that the actor wore that you don't need anymore. I've sent that out. I've sent like, "Hey, here's that shirt that you wore in the movie. I know you really liked it." And like that's another thing that like can be really simple and it like connects you back to the movie that they worked on. It's like sending someone an ex-boyfriend box. "Here's the sweatshirt that you used to like."
I
Um,
think the word here is appreciation, and I think it was Tony Robbins had those six human needs, and appreciation is one of them. And people show their appreciation. Some people are more verbal with their words. I love you. I care for you. And some people have a hard time saying those words, so they express things with gifts or with texts or whatever. There's different ways to express yourself, and it's also try to be mindful to yourself that people will express themselves in different ways. So don't get upset if someone's not as verbal as you like. Maybe they do other things for you.
Let's just check in here. Ariana gives us a virtual hand raise. She can feel us on that one.
I
Um,
appreciate that.
Stephen E says, wash hands, good vibes. Those are two great rules to live by. A different world. Dwayne Wayne had the glasses and the jacket from the show. Stephen E, I love you for mentioning Dwayne Wayne today, because that's a guy that I didn't think that I'd be hearing about today on a Tuesday, and that was by far one of my favorite characters
Whitley
of
Gilbert.
early '90s television. And
Whitley Gilbert was
I'm
his
not going to
name.
sing it, but it's a different world from where you come from. Remember that theme? Does anyone
Yeah,
remember
I
the theme?
remember that show. Lisa Bonet started, but Marissa was actually the roommate for the first season, but she got kicked off too.
Well,
Um,
Ralph Macchio had the car from the Karate Kid gifted to him. Steven is
that's a
just
nice story.
full of the movie trivia in television trivia today. We appreciate that.
I think.
Um,
Yeah, I
so,
was going to.
guys, oh, go ahead, Mike, and then we'll just wrap up a couple things here.
Yeah, Junior McMahon of the WWE, I think, gave Roddy Piper the Ford that they used for the WrestleMania 12 match with Goldust. I did want to say this one thing, Tommy, about you were talking just a few minutes ago about as a director, you're directing 1 or 2 movies a year. The actors are working on 10 or 12 movies. Have you ever had this kind of irony or this kind of discrepancy with actors? They'll get mad at you if you don't cast them in every single movie that you do. But they're acting in 10 or 12 other guys movies or 10 or 12 other directors movies, male or female, so they have no problem with going to act for 10 or 12 different other people, but yet they feel that every time you make a movie you've got to cast them in every single one. Just a little discrepancy that I think actors have been guilty of. I've experienced that with some of my projects as well, and it's a little bit frustrating because it's like, hey, I just need vanilla instead of chocolate or chocolate instead of strawberry this time, and you're the flavor I don't need. And people don't like to hear that type of rational statement.
There's no question that, it always is a kind of a tricky space to navigate when you're friends with actors, because you want them to know that, yes, I would love to cast you as much as I can, and if I could work with you in every movie, I'd love to. But at the same time, shame on them for expecting that out of you, because, I like to think of actors almost like instruments, like parts in a band, a different portion of the symphony. And you might have an electric guitar kind of sound, Mike, but you know what? Maybe I want to go acoustic on this next album of mine. And I love your electric guitar, but I just don't need it. I want to make an acoustic album. So it's one of those things where, like, not every actor is going to be right for every fucking project. And notice, and I don't want to turn this into we're not dunking on actors. This isn't the dunking on actors hour. But all those actors that they want to be in every one of your movies, I can't think of one of them that has ever tried to get me a fucking directing job of any kind. Not
Or
one of
even
them
get
has.
you an acting job. Have they tried to
Yeah,
get you an acting job because you
like
act too?
not one of these people have ever been like, like, hey, Tommy, I'd love to. Can I hire you to do some one-on-one training and maybe do some sessions? No, there's definitely. I don't think we need to bring it up on this show much further, but I think if you're an actor, and I'm an actor too, so a portion of this is true about me. If you're an actor, there's a part of your ego that's probably a little slightly, maybe overgrown, maybe just a little bit. Uh, and I think that it's part of our nature as actors to just want as much as we can get. We just want the biggest bite at the apple as we can get. And we don't mean it, but sometimes it can come off like we're being selfish. Sometimes it can come off like we're being users. But the reality is, it's just the actor's spirit to just want to just dive into as much as they can. It's almost like, I hate to use a boxing reference, but you rarely see a boxer quit in a match. They're going to allow themselves to get knocked out. It's up to the corner person to say, no, 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 we're stopping this fight, because it's just in their nature as a fighter. They're just going to keep moving forward and trying to fight until they get knocked the fuck out. Whereas the actors are kind of the same way. That actor mentality, I'm just going to keep fucking swinging and you're going to have to knock me out. I'm not going to quit. And sometimes that can come off as a little bit of like, you almost have to be the guy in the corner being like, yeah, we're going to stop the fight. We don't need you in this movie. We'll get you on the next one.
Hey Tommy, how does an actor read a script? Bullshit,
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 bullshit, my
bullshit.
line.
My part, bullshit.
Bullshit, bullshit, my line. All right, let's check in with some of these comments here.
Very good.
Uh, I've seen that directors need to tell different stories. Yeah, of course. You can't just be working with the same damn people. Plus, be willing to grow. I agree. Work with different people. You got to grow in so many ways. It's so true. Um, Andres, what's up, Andres? My brother there. I was so grateful to work with to work on yours, Tommy. How did I get cast in Almost Mercy? My all-time favorite. Oh man, dude, Almost Mercy is one of my all-time favorite movies. And I was great to share that with you. And we're gonna do an Almost Mercy show one of these days. We love you too, brother. It's great to see you. And also, Andres has some pretty awesome emoji game as well. If we're commenting on emoji game, I know Anna had some really sick emoji collections. I'm an artist. I'm a visual guy. I appreciate a good medley of emojis. Okay, so guys, just a couple more things. Don't be afraid to let someone know about a project of yours way in advance. I mean, way in advance. Like I've done this before. We have a tendency, we talked about pre-production last week. That's usually the 6 to 8 weeks before. But if I really know that I want to work with someone, and it's not always easy because you don't always know the exact date, but I'm gonna make a shout out to a guy like by the name of Ben Bornstein, for example. I worked with Ben on Almost Mercy, and I worked with him on Army of the Damned and on Vault. And he's a guy who works a lot. I mean, a real lot. And I actually owe him a call. He's a guy that we're talking about reaching out between shows. I should probably reach out to him. But he's a guy who works so much and is so busy that if I know that I want him, if I even have like a fucking inkling that I'm going to make a movie in the next year,
Right.
I'll already call him and be like, "Hey, man, I know this is way in advance, but like next fall, like I have this movie and I just would love for you to do it. In 6 months or so, I can send you the script." Start that path early. So that way you're not just calling them 6 weeks before. A, they might already have a fucking job. They might be booked. And B, now suddenly you've planted the seed. And whether they like it or not, if you told them a little bit about your project and they're friends, so they're going to hear about it and they're not going to expect to get paid anything just to have a 15, 20-minute call with you about your movie. They won't be able to help themselves as artists. They're going to be thinking about your project now for the whole next year. If they see something they like in a movie or on another movie set, they're going to say, "Ooh, that could probably work in Tommy's movie." And now they know about it and they're fucking thinking about you so far in advance. So that's my advice. Like, even if it's a year, even if 6 months, don't be afraid to be a blip on their radar and just check on in. Um, and I think here's the final wrap up, because I've done this before. Don't ever convince yourself that it's been too long to reach out. I think we all do that. We're like, "Oh, a lot of time's gone by. I'm just going to forget it. I'm not going to call this person." Don't do that. I've literally waited years. There's one time B Dolan, actually, a guy who I went on and B Dolan and I have written a couple screenplays together. We wrote Almost Mercy together. We wrote Vault together. Here's a guy that when I was an intern I met and we worked together for about 6 months, and then I didn't speak a word to him for literally 4 years, 5 years. Didn't utter a fucking word to him. Got his phone number through a mutual friend because I knew that I remember just loving his writing style. And I really wanted to take on a writing partner for this dark film I was about to get into. And I got his number through a mutual friend. And I literally cold called him. And this is how I said, "Hey, man, you remember me? We worked together like a few years ago and blah, blah, blah. A couple little bit of backstory. I got this script and I thought about you because I've always loved your writing style. Would love to talk to you about doing it. Do you want to meet for a coffee?" And literally, it was as if it was as if that 4 or 5 year gap didn't take place. We met for a coffee and the relationship picked right up. And we've since written a couple of screenplays together. So that was after not talking to the guy for literally years and years and years. And just like, it would have been very easy for me to just be like, I haven't talked to that guy in 4 years. He's not even going to remember who the fuck I am. He'll remember. They will remember. So it's never been too long. Don't ever be afraid to go out of your way and make the first move, because there's a little something that I call friendship rust. right?
Yeah.
Like any other old piece of metal, right? We get rusty. If you make the first move, you can dust off some of that friendship rust, shake it on off, resurrect that relationship, and do business together again, be friends again, be pals again. Re- Rest the relationship and then resurrect the relationship. So thank you all for like watching along. I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping. We are looking for sponsors on the show. So if anybody knows about a particular, could be anything, could be any kind of advertiser. We have talked to a couple of liquor stores that are interested in advertising with us. There's a memorabilia shop that's interested, a couple of restaurants. If you have anything in mind, anyone in mind that might want to sponsor our show, we'll be happy to kind of drop their name on the show, give a little promo, drop a comment, get in touch with me. These sponsorships are very affordable. We're talking like, you can do like a weekly sponsorship for like $25. Very affordable for a business. And we'll be chirping it out. Also, guys, we can't appreciate we appreciate the consistent viewership so much. It means a lot to see all you. It helps the show. It makes it a better show. Your comments are terrific. It helps kind of guide the path that Mike and I are going to go on. Uh, if I could just ask one favor of you, at some point this week, if you want to take a link to the show and post out there and say, hey, this is And Action. I listen to this every week, and it's a fun hour and change with these movie guys. And we get on there and chirp it up and have some fun talking films. It would go a long way for us. We're definitely at the point where we've consistently grown the show now, where every week we get at least 100 people checking in, which, I know we're not talking about thousands or millions, but you got to start somewhere. And we're really happy and fortunate to have that kind of consistent group of 100 people every week. So do us a favor. It doesn't have to be today, sometime this week. Shoot us a little shout out, share the link, let people know that you have fun kind of chiming in with us, because we definitely have fun being on the show here with you. And we can't wait for next week. We're going to talk a little bit about, we're entering spooky season, guys. October is my favorite month of the year, I think. I really do. I love the crisp fall air. I love the foliage. I love the leaves coming off the trees. And I love Halloween. And I love scary movies. So next week, we're going to be talking about a scary movie that I acted in called Infected. It's a zombie movie starring Michael Madsen, William Forsythe, and Christy Romano. It was directed by Glenn Ciano, and we shot it in Foster, Rhode Island. I want to say around 2010 era. And I think the movie came out around maybe 2011. It might have even been 2009. I got to look into that. It was a long time ago, but this was one of my first movies where I had a lead. I played Michael Madsen's son, which, if you're a Reservoir Dogs fan, Michael Madsen played Mr. Blonde, and he was one of the more iconic characters in that film. So to be his son in a movie was a real fucking treat for me back then. So we're going to talk all about that movie and all about that little zombie romp in the woods. It was a 15-day shoot, all deep in the woods of Foster, Rhode Island, running for our lives from bloodthirsty zombies.
What was Christy Romano's claim to fame as a teen actor? Was it iCarly or Kim Possible? One of those?
It was Kim Possible, and it was also, she did the voice of Kim Possible, and she also was on a program called Even Stevens, or
Okay,
Even
gotcha.
Steven.
Yeah,
I don't
she's
know. It's before my time, but
right. She's had a good career, though. Yeah.
yes, but thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. Ariana agrees. Spooky season is the best season. It really is. We can all get down on some scary stuff. And yes, we're
That's
gonna have a romp in the woods next week. So bring your extra sweatshirt, bring your bug spray, bring your camo hunting jackets. We're going into the woods, and we're gonna talk about this wild little zombie movie that we made a while back. And there's definitely some fun stories that come with that one. So join us next week at 11 a.m. And thanks for tuning in to And Action episode 22, a palindrome, our first ever palindrome. Actually, no, we had episode 11. But
11.
this is going to be our last palindrome episode until
Right.
episode 33.
33. Well,
All right.
also thanks to Stephen E., Kim Kaling, and Anna, who all have already shared the link today. So I want to give them a quick shout out before we wrap out. Thanks for sharing the URL.
No, thank you so much, guys. Y'all are the best, and we can't wait to see you next week. We'll see you then. Bye-bye now. Stay in touch. Stay in touch with all your people. Go call your people. We'll see you later.